You ever visit a place that looks like paradise on postcards? But the second you land, you realize you've stepped into chaos. That's exactly how I felt in the Philippines. Don't get me wrong, it's a beautiful country. White sand beaches, friendly smiles, karaoke on every corner. But after spending enough time there, I started to see the cracks. And what I found underneath, well, it wasn't pretty. And it's not just me. Most tourists visit the Philippines once and never come back. In fact, according to a new regional report, the Philippines has the lowest tourism return rate in all of Southeast Asia. Think about that. You've got postcard perfect islands, cheap flights, warm weather, friendly people, and yet travelers don't return. Something's not adding up, and once you see why, it all starts to make sense. This isn't a bash the Philippines video, it's just my experience, the stuff no one puts in travel vlogs. Because behind those Instagram sunsets and cheap beers, there's another side of the Philippines people don't talk about. And once you've seen it, you can't unsee it. When I first arrived in Manila, I was excited. Everyone online said, Filipinos are the friendliest people in the world. And yeah, at first they were. The airport was chaos, but I didn't mind. Taxi drivers swarmed me like bees. One guy waved me over, big smile, said, "Meter, sir." Meter only. Great, I thought, an honest driver. He loaded my bags, cranked up the AC, and when we pulled up to my hotel, he said, 3,000 pesos. 3,000 pesos. For what should have been a 300 peso ride. I told him that's ridiculous. He locked the doors and said, "You pay or I call police." Welcome to Manila. Let's talk about something even more uncomfortable. The police. Now, I've traveled through Southeast Asia. I've dealt with corrupt cops before. But the Philippines? That's a different kind of tension. I was stopped once in a small town while riding a rented motorbike. 2 officers flagged me down, looked at my license, and said, "You have problem." I asked what the problem was. They said, "You must pay 1,000 pesos or we impound your bike." There was no ticket, no paperwork, no explanation. Just 2 men with guns, blocking my way, waiting for cash. I handed over the 1,000, because what else could I do? Argue? Out there, arguing could cost you more than money. That's when it hit me. In the Philippines, you can feel safe until you actually need safety. Because once something happens, once your wallet's stolen, your passport's gone, or a cop decides he doesn't like you, you realize how powerless you really are. A friend of mine had his passport stolen in Manila. He said the police shrugged and told him to go embassy. That's it. No report, no help, just indifference. Now, let's talk about something almost every foreigner notices. The feeling that time just stopped. You drive through rural towns, and it's like stepping into a time capsule from the 1970s. The same old jeepneys, the same broken roads, the same promises that new infrastructure is coming. But it never seems to come. People told me the Philippines is stuck in the 70s. And honestly, they're not wrong. Everywhere you look, you see potential. Beautiful coastlines, young population, rich culture, but the poverty never goes away. You still see kids barefoot in the streets, brownouts that last all night, half-finished bridges left to rot because the money disappeared. It's heartbreaking, because Filipinos deserve better. But corruption eats everything. You talk to locals and they'll tell you the money goes to politicians' pockets. And the worst part? People say it like it's normal, like it's just the way life is. That hopeless acceptance, that's what gets me. One of the first things everyone says about the Philippines is how friendly the people are. And yes, that's true, until money gets involved. I used to think people smiled because they were genuinely happy. But over time, I learned to tell the difference between a real smile and a transactional one. In tourist areas, everyone's friendly, but that friendliness often ends the second you stop spending. You can't blame individuals for that entirely. It's economic survival. But when every interaction feels like a negotiation, you start to lose trust. Even long-term expats told me horror stories. One guy said his own Filipino family scammed him out of property. Another said his girlfriend disappeared after he bought her a family house that wasn't even in his name. When things like that keep happening, you start to realize friendly doesn't always mean trustworthy. When a country's been struggling with poverty for generations, Survival becomes the main game, and if overcharging a tourist helps your family eat for a week, many will take that deal without guilt. I get it, but that doesn't make it any easier when you're on the receiving end, constantly wondering who's being real with you and who's just calculating what they can get. It's exhausting. The irony is, the Philippines is stunning. Boracay, Palawan, Siargao, some of the most beautiful places I've ever seen. But for every paradise beach, there's a slum 5 minutes away. For every luxury resort, there's a brownout next door. That duality, beauty, and dysfunction, it's what makes the country both fascinating and frustrating. I've had days where I thought, man, I could live here forever. Then the next day, I'd lose my temper at another scam or power outage and think, get me out of here. It's an emotional roller coaster. What really shocked me isn't just how foreigners get scammed, it's how locals get scammed too. Everyone's losing. The government fails them, the infrastructure fails them, and the corruption cycle never ends. You can see it in their faces, the frustration, the resignation. People want change, but no one believes it'll happen. A local friend once told me, here we survive, not live. That hit hard. Filipinos laugh through pain like no one else. They find joy in places most of us wouldn't survive a week. But that same resilience also hides the rot. The idea that it's okay even when it's not. And for travelers like me, that contradiction is hard to shake. You love the people, but you hate the system. You love the energy, but you hate the dishonesty. It's confusing. And maybe that's why it sticks with you. If you post anything critical about the Philippines online, people get angry. You're racist. You don't understand our culture. You just had bad luck. But how many times does bad luck have to happen before it's a pattern? Because no matter how many times people sugarcoat it, you can't build a life or even feel safe in a place where trust is always up for negotiation. And that's the problem no one wants to talk about. Here's the part that really stings. The Philippines has fallen behind. Not just behind Thailand. Behind Vietnam. Behind Cambodia. Hell, even Laos is starting to feel like it's catching up. Thailand? Light years ahead. You step off the plane in Bangkok, and within 5 minutes you can feel the difference. Cleaner, safer, better organized. Vietnam? It feels like Asia's rising star, modern, efficient, disciplined yet still affordable. And Cambodia, once the region's punchline, now feels more modern than half of Metro Manila. Meanwhile, the Philippines is stuck in some endless loop, over-promising and under-delivering. Everyone blames someone else. The politicians, the corruption, the church, the Americans, the Chinese, but at the end of the day, it's the ordinary Filipino who suffers. And I say this with empathy, because I've met some of the kindest people here. Humble, hardworking, genuinely good souls, but they're trapped in a system that rewards greed and punishes honesty. It's like watching a beautiful country handcuff itself. Ask any long-term expat here what finally made them leave. They'll tell you it wasn't one big thing. It was everything, all the time. The noise, the inefficiency, the endless waiting, the way nothing ever quite works right, the way small problems turn into week-long nightmares. One guy described it perfectly. Living here is death by 1,000 cuts. Each cut is tiny. A power outage here, a delayed flight there, a bill that magically doubles, but over time it wears you down. Until one day you wake up and realize you're exhausted. Not from life, from the system. And it's not just foreigners feeling it. Even Filipinos are fed up. I've seen comments from locals saying things like, as a Filipino, I discourage anyone from visiting right now. Or, I've lived here 15 years, it's getting worse. That's not hate. That's heartbreak. That's a country falling out of love with itself. Let's be real. Poverty here isn't just visible, it's inescapable. Begging kids tug at your shirt at intersections. Dogs starve on the sidewalks. Mountains of garbage line the rivers. And through it all, someone's blasting karaoke at 2 a.m. because, well, what else can you do but sing? The poverty isn't just economic, it's emotional. It's the kind of fatigue that seeps into everything: politics, service, relationships, even hope. And yet, somehow, the country keeps pretending it's on the rise. Every year there's another slogan: it's more fun in the Philippines. Love the Philippines. but the reality behind those words keeps decaying. It's not fun watching children beg while luxury SUVs drive past. It's not fun watching stray dogs get kicked or poisoned, and it's definitely not fun watching people smile through suffering like it's normal. That's not fun. That's survival. Now, here's where it gets controversial, because you can't talk about stagnation here without talking about the Catholic Church. It's everywhere. It still shapes policy. It still blocks birth control. It still tells people that poverty is just God's plan. Meanwhile, entire communities are trapped in cycles of having more children than they can possibly feed. And who pays the price? The kids. The same ones begging outside convenience stores. The same ones foreigners try to ignore as they walk by. Religion should inspire compassion, not control. But in the Philippines, it often feels like faith has become a cage, one that keeps people obedient but powerless. It's hard to modernize a country when half the population believes suffering is holy. Here's the paradox. Filipinos are some of the warmest, funniest, most resilient people on earth. And yet the system they live under breaks them down piece by piece. You'll see smiles that light up entire rooms, even in poverty. That's what makes it so tragic. The human spirit here is strong. The system is what's rotten. Everywhere you look, there's potential, wasted. Talented people who can't find work at home. Beautiful islands destroyed by greed. Brilliant young minds forced to leave for better opportunities abroad. And when they do leave, guess what? They thrive. Filipinos abroad are some of the hardest working, most successful people you'll ever meet. So it's not the people. It's the environment. I've been around long enough to see the shift firsthand. 10 years ago, foreigners were flocking here. Retirees, digital nomads, dreamers chasing island life. Now, they're quietly packing up and moving to Vietnam or Thailand. Why? Because they've had enough. Enough of the scams, enough of the inflation, enough of watching a country with so much promise keep tripping over its own corruption. Vietnam is booming. Thailand still feels organized and safe. Meanwhile, the Philippines feels like it's stuck in neutral, beautiful but broken, friendly but frustrating, and when long-term expats, the ones who used to defend this country with passion, start saying things like, "I discourage anyone from visiting," you know something's seriously wrong. Sometimes it's not even the big stuff. It's the small, everyday heartbreaks. A dog chained in the sun without water, a kid sleeping on a cardboard box outside a 7-Eleven, a grandmother begging for coins while her government officials drive luxury SUVs, or the sound of karaoke echoing through slums, masking the sound of hunger. Those moments stay with you. They chip away at your soul, and they make you question everything, including why a country with so much beauty can be so careless with it. It's hard to love a place that constantly breaks your heart, but you can't stop loving it either, because deep down you still want it to change. You still believe it could be better if only it wanted to be. Let's be brutally honest. If you're a foreigner looking to live in Southeast Asia right now, here's how it stacks up. Thailand, modern, safe, structured, slightly pricier, but worth it. Vietnam, affordable, organized, booming with opportunity. Philippines, emotionally rich, logistically broken. In Thailand, you get value. In Vietnam, you get efficiency. In the Philippines, you get heartbreak and sometimes betrayal. This isn't to bash the country. It's to call it out. Because people are tired of pretending. We all wanted to believe in the pearl of the Orient, but pearls don't shine if they're never polished. Nobody tells you that paradise comes with fine print, that the beaches are stunning until you notice the plastic floating in the waves, that the smiles are warm until money changes hands, that the culture is vibrant until you realize it's suffocating under corruption and religion. Nobody tells you that trust is rare here, not because people are evil, but because desperation breeds deceit. When survival is the daily struggle, morality becomes optional. And yet, somehow, the country still markets itself as a dream destination. Come for the beaches, stay for the smiles, that's the slogan. But the truth, you come for the beauty. And you stay until the disillusionment catches up with you. The Philippines doesn't break your heart in one go. It does it slowly, like saltwater rusting metal. One broken promise at a time. You'll still have good days, sunsets that make you forget the noise, people who restore your faith in humanity, meals that remind you why you came here in the first place. But eventually, the imbalance becomes too heavy. You give more than you get, you see too much wasted potential, and it eats away at you. That's the tragedy of it all. The Philippines doesn't just disappoint you. It makes you mourn what it could have been. You might think I'm angry, and I am, but not out of hate, out of love, because I've seen what this country could be if it cleaned up its corruption, if it invested in infrastructure, if it gave people real education and opportunity, if it treated its animals and children with dignity, if it stopped letting religion dictate policy, if it simply respected itself as much as it expects foreigners to respect it. This place could be unstoppable. It could rival Thailand, it could surpass Vietnam, it could finally live up to the beauty of its people and the richness of its land. But until that happens, until real change comes, the Pearl of the Orient will keep losing its shine. So here's the truth. The Philippines doesn't need another tourism campaign. It doesn't need another influencer video of beaches and smiles. It needs accountability. It needs leaders who care more about people than politics. And it needs citizens who demand more, not just from the government, but from themselves. Because kindness alone doesn't build a country. Discipline does. Integrity does. And maybe, just maybe, it's time the Philippines learned that lesson the hard way. What do you think? Have you seen the same decline? Or do you think people like me are being too harsh? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.